welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKinnon, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Hello, 10th.
Good morning.
Hello, Discord. Hello, Nathan. Hello.
What's up, Ted?
Oh, just people who realize they've been lied to but can't come to grips with it. How's that?
Like, wait. There's two types of people now. There's the guy yesterday that was hysterical. And that love field was great. And now you have the people that are just denying that are just flat. So, what do we got here, Ted?
Well, I need a little more context from you. I'm more trying to figure out, well, not figure out, but put out the dichotomy of one person seeing NASA footage with astronauts on wires, clearly faking zero gravity, and then saying, you know what, if they're really in space, why would they need to do that? Now, that would be normal. That would be logical. That would be rational. What you get is, oh, no, that's not what it is. Oh, no. You see, there actually is space and zero gravity, but NASA's on a budget. They tight on cash, so they decide to film in the studio. But there really is space. I mean, you hear the strangest things from an organization that gets almost $60 million a day. How tight can you be?
Well, now the question of zero G allows them to beg the question of gravity.
That's correct.
No, I understand, but the video of wires in ISS that's supposed to be in that medium tells what to a rational mind? Immediately.
Well, yeah, but if they're faking zero G, that means that gravity does exist, and you know what I mean? Like when it's phrased that way.
Okay, except that's in this forum where it's hyper-specific and we are learning how people use debate tactics. I'm talking about everyday Joe and Jane who are not into what we have to deal with, where you just show them something. Like if you show them a score of a baseball game and it says 5-0, are they going to turn around and say that doesn't mean 5-0? That means it's 6-5.
Yeah, but when someone turns around and says, "Oh, they might be faking that, but it's still space is still real," but that's not the same thing.
Well, hang on. So if the authority you trusted in is caught lying, do you think they might be lying somewhere else?
No, that's the awful truth they might have to face. A la Conspiracy Cats talking to Haunted House about the awful truth you might have to face if that was the case.
It's all fear, Ted, man.
No, and listen, I know the answer to this. I'm posing these questions to get to a point.
We know.
Well, the answer Nathan gave is the proper answer. It's no longer an assessment using rationality and your logic and empirical data. It's no longer that. Those days are over. These people are going to feel pain if they admit to that. Now, why would you feel pain if you're a plumber and you're going about your day to provide food for your family doing plumbing work, and this issue comes up and you see that they're lying and you can see it with your own eyes? We asked the questions, is there any earth curvature? Just show it to us. Can you please just show it to us? You keep telling us we live on a ball 3959 with earth curve based on the height of the observer, etc. But we can never see it. And then you catch them in a lie, you see the wires and the ass, all these different things. Now that plumber, what's his business to defend the lying institutions that stand over the world as authorities when they've been caught lying? Why would he do it?
The indoctrination is so thick. They did such a good job that you just fight automatically. That's what I did when my brother told me. I started fighting automatically. Nobody had to tell me.
No, hang on. It's the root of the problem, pride. Why would you fight automatically when a friend, let alone a stranger, let's just say a friend, says, hey, you know what? I just saw this footage. Tell me what you see here. Do you see wires? Yeah, I do. Now, why would I fight him?
Yeah, I didn't even see the wires. I just started fighting automatically. I don't know. I still think it's how they did it. They did such a great job at tricking us that people just fight against it. I don't know.
No. Evidence should turn the opinion around, but the evidence is there and the opinion stays and fights about it and defends the authority that lied. I said to people, I said, wait a minute, if you catch someone in a lie and they keep lying and you show more lies, why would you ever defend them as a trustworthy authority anymore?
Wait, but then do they defend it right away, or do they go look into it and then they start finding the bullcrap answers that we found? The 2 points in the sky and the little tricks and games that they play to have people deceived.
No, that depends on the individual. The individual at first, depending if they're an alpha male or a beta male or something in between, will react differently. Some people are quiet. They do research, then they come. Or some people are so quiet, they never come. Then there's those that immediately blast out a response to the fair question. Like here, I posted it. I wonder if today someone will finally show us Earth curvature matching Earth's given R value, ? And if they can't, will they concede that it only exists in the math? It's a simple question. Show it to us. It's one of the housekeeping questions.
I was just going to tell Neil that the 2 points of rotation in the sky is now my favorite flat Earth proof, because well, they're deriving the idea of hemispheres from a flat Earth model, right? They've sandwiched the northern hemisphere of the celestial sphere and the southern hemisphere of the celestial sphere together, but both of them are flat planes that they've sandwiched together and said they're antipodal. So the idea of antipodal requires a flat plane.
Wow.
So you do get where I'm getting to by asking these questions.
Yep.
What?
Well, it's like it goes back to that article Chocolate found that how to debate a flat earther, and the problem is trust, right?
Go on.
How can you, if authority is derived from truth, right, then that's where true authority comes from, is from knowledge and truth. Then if your authority is lying to you, what does that mean about your authority?
No. What does that mean about you? your response to the lying authority or a truth-telling authority. What does that tell about you? What if the authority is telling you the truth? Why would you fight it? What if the authority is lying to you? Why don't you fight it?
It's a good question. I don't know if I can give the answer. I mean, it's maybe human nature.
Well, it's committing rational suicide. And what does that lead to? Someone said, in fact, I'll read it. That's rational suicide. That's not logical. Logic abandoned leaves you with myth and the enemies of mythology. The enemies of mythology are empirical data and God-given reason. That's where they end up. When you don't make the right decision when given a set of facts, that there's consequences. Hello, Discord.
He got a little too deep on that.
No, I got right to the point. This is why we have all these trolls and sock accounts and anti-flat earthers. They need to look in the mirror.
Self-awareness isn't really a Glober trait or an anti-flat earther trait.
Well, it's not so much self-awareness, is on other matters, when they're not handed the correct change at the grocery store, they'll sit there and argue until they get to the last penny what they're owed. But here you show that authorities have lied to them. There is no curvature that's anyone shown anyone. You got astronauts on wires. You got them saying they've lost the technology and they can't get back to the moon. You got all these stupid statements, and then the other guy says, yeah, we really can't send anyone through the Van Allen belts because it's not safe. But how'd you do it when they went to the moon and back? Oh, well, actually, I was done in the Hollywood basement, but shh, don't tell anybody. I mean, come on. How many things, how many NASA bloopers does one need to see?
Yeah, people go to all sorts of extents to defend it. Like the whole Joe Rogan defending a separate moon mission that we couldn't know about, so they had to fake the ones that we did know about so they could go to the dark side of the moon and explore the aliens. People come up with their own narrative to keep the key piece of the information, that space and a sky vacuum, intact.
Yes, absolutely. That's the mythology that you end up going to because you abandon logic, you abandon reason, and you committed rational suicide, and you went away from the true science, empirical data, true science could provide you. Not pseudo, but then you give homage to pseudoscience, and now scientism rules the day. Science is bandied around like any other word, and it's no longer a tight fit to something that's cause and effect that you observe in the natural world. So they take something that's valid, something that was really appreciated by everybody, and then they bastardize it and use it to lie about everything, because they've already got that. You know, we're science. We're NASA. We're get so much. Why would we lie? You know, some people, it's like, okay, well, forget about why would they lie. Is this guy hanging on wires or not? Is this statement make any sense if we would live on the globe? No. Well, then what's your reason tell you? Why would they lie? Okay, why do people go right to that? Why would they lie instead of saying they are lying?
When they say, why would they lie, that's more like saying, how could I be lied to? It's just projecting onto the next man.
Now you're getting to my point I'm getting to. So at the end of the day, it's pride on all of our parts when we do not accept the truth of something.
Are you all aware? I'm having a load of internet troubles today. So
Yeah, what's going on?
it just keeps cutting out. So just when I was setting up the show, it kicked me out literally during the setup. So although I have got the show running, it may fail. So I've already called my internet provider, who did a line check, and it's fine according to them. But of course, at that moment, it was fine. But anyway, there you go. I just thought I'd make you aware.
Well, do we have anyone in Discord? Still a question out there to be answered.
Yeah, I've just taken a bunch of them off mute.
I'm out here and I can talk for a minute or two.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard that question. Why would they lie? Well, really, it comes down to why do people do anything wrong in general? You know, I mean, like, why do people murder? Why do people steal? Why would someone lie? Well, it ultimately comes down to three options, I think. You know, you lie to your wife because you're having an affair. You lie because you don't want to lose power, or you lie and cheat because you want to gain more money. So if you can figure out which three of those are in play, then you have your answer. Why would they lie? More than likely, it's the power thing or money. I don't think the massive guys are after sex. Yeah, it could be, but you know, I think the nature of the world would not be about sex. I don't think.
So the government's thirst for power, basically.
Yeah, because if the truth comes out, they would lose the power they have. So they're obviously going to lie. That's why the government doesn't admit any time they do anything wrong, they can't, because they would lose their credibility, which would lose their power. So they never can admit that they did anything wrong.
Pretty much what John said a couple of minutes ago.
Oh, I missed that. I just came in, so I missed this. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I wasn't criticising.
Okay.
All right, now let's flip the shoe on the person that's being lied to. If they're going to be logical and rational, question one, do you like being lied to? Yes or no? Question two, what is your first response when you find out you have been lied to?
Why would they lie?
I love it. That is the first response in most cases.
Well, you know, I was actually thinking about that too when I did catch that part when I first came in. I think the reason that question is a question that jumps out is because honestly, most of our existence is based upon trust. We don't realize it. You know, we trust our teachers, we trust our family, we trust people to give us information. We want to give people the benefit of the doubt when things are, you know, when it comes to history. There's a lot of things that we have put our trust in. And see, the problem I'm noticing though, why would they lie? But you know, if they lie about one thing, do they lie about everything? Well, that doesn't make logical sense. So they might be lying about one thing, but everything else might be true. You know, and I think there's a simple naive about just assuming, you know, I don't know, it's trusting everybody. You know, why would they lie? Why would they lie to me? You know, so I think that's a valid question, but I think, you know, if you don't have discernment, you will kind of fall into a trap. But the other side of the coin is also true. If nobody can be trusted on anything, you have a problem there too. So it's a problem on either side if you go too extreme on either side.
Well, Paul, why am I concerned? And this is, I'm going to say it this way, but it's a question on the topic. Why am I concerned about why would they lie when discernment tells me they did lie?
Exactly. The why would they lie is a tacit acceptance that they have lied. Now you're just trying to figure out why.
Which is a fool's endeavor. It's a fool's endeavor, though, isn't it? Trying to discern people's motivation. What are you going to do? Appeal to the liar to tell you?
Well, it's not. It's a fool's. What'd you call it again?
Fool's errand.
Yeah, it's a fool's errand if you make a quick decision without investigation. But if you are a detective, you're looking for forensics to help you out at a scene of a crime. So on this subject, if someone presented this to me, I'd say, my first response wants to just say this, but I don't know until I do more investigation. Let me do more investigation. I'll come back. Now, what am I investigating in the meantime? Okay, I validate the lie. Yeah, they did lie. Why did they lie? Well, it could be a number of reasons. I don't really know. But is it a lie? Yeah, it's a lie. Okay, should I trust this authority blindly, or should I now be careful at every statement that comes out of them? Well, based on the finding out that they can and do lie, I better check everything out from now on. Not that everything they say is a lie, because then you would easily call them a liar.
That's where the problem lies, because there may be other things that people hold dear that turn out to be lies also. And that sort of wide-reaching... It's hard to describe this from my perspective, because from my perspective, this is a great thing. Wow! You mean to say we don't know what the sky is? Wow, a magical world of wonderment we now live in. Fantastic, is my attitude. That exact same... I'm going to phrase it this way, just 'cause I can't think of any other way. That problem... How is that a problem? Well, for some people it is, because, no, I want to hold dear to everything I've been told and currently, quote-unquote, know is true. And if this, that's just been proven to me to be a lie, is accepted by me as being a lie, rather than just moving on to the contemplation of, well, why would they? Because that's leading towards, they wouldn't, because therefore it's true. The contemplation is the concern. They might have to relinquish things they hold dear, and those things will flash before their mind. I only know this from Conspiracy Cats literally describing it in the third person to Haunted House.
But see, that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm not just saying use this for the topic of FED, flat Earth debates. I'm saying the rationality, the logic, is on all areas. Like the example of someone not getting correct change at the grocery store. Would they? I think she shortchanged me $5. Do I say something, or do I just lose $5? I mean, some people walk away and they're afraid to challenge, but they just lost $5, so it costs them $5. Other people say, "Excuse me, I think there might be a mistake here. I think you owe me $5 more. Can we check that receipt?" Well, now that's not a hard thing to say, but some people can't say that.
$2. I want my $2.
Well, I want my $2 from NASA. They saying all these things. Now I want my $2 and they don't want to give it to me. And I said, wait a minute, you made claims. I have footage from you that these claims are staged. You're staging stuff. You're not doing what you say you're doing and where you're doing. Why can't people do that?
Right.
Well, what I was...
You go ahead, John.
I was going to say was the question, why would they lie? It's got the tacit acceptance that they are lying. Now you're trying to figure out why. But that's set up within a false dichotomy. What if they're just wrong? Right now, NASA is lying. But say we're 2,000 years ago and the Temple of Zeus has priests faking the conversations with the gods, right? That doesn't mean they still don't believe that Zeus is up there. They're just faking conversations with him. There's a little bit more to it.
That's what I said. Doesn't mean space isn't real. It means there was a separate, more secretive moon mission. So they had to fake the one for the public so they could get away with launching the rockets in the first place through the sky vacuum that I still want to accept in this entire story that I've substituted for the one that they gave us, including the sky vacuum, second law of thermodynamics violation that it's all based on, because that's my world. So therefore, I've got to come up with something.
I see John's point very clearly. Who was the guy who pretended to do an interview with astrophysicists and then gave a situation that was impossible to match to this Earth model that she believed?
It was Wakey Wakey.
And then Wakey Wakey, that's right. So remember, what was her answer to him?
You can just change the model.
Okay, now see, there's someone who was lied to, educated, got a degree and master's in that lie, and they don't think they're lying. They are purveyors of a lie that they think is true, and then when presented with a or B situation, well, we'll just change the model. Yeah, but do you know what you're saying there? That means all your astronomical distances, everything you've ever said falls apart because you need R to be R at the current rate. There's a lot of those people.
She was more than willing to just declare that, well, if it doesn't match up with reality, then the model's wrong. It's like, but the model's been reified into that reality as a curved Earth. But so long as you're telling me that part of the description in the model that we understand is a model, even though we do still understand that the model's representing the sphere Earth we're standing on, we change the model to more accurately represent the world we're standing on, and that's still curved, as far as you, in this case Wakey Wakey Mark Knight, and I, in this case astrophysicist who's defending the model being wrong, both understand that we're still on a sphere. But at the end, when Mark Knight, or Wakey Wakey, points out that, oh no, I'm not a globe believer, I'm a flat earther, then she got very angry. Because she only made that disclaimer about, well, the model's wrong, or you just have to make the model right, make changes to the model. You know, that's all well and good if you're both believing that you're on a sphere when that declaration's made. If it's being made by someone who obviously doesn't believe that they're on a sphere at all, then she would have not made that disclaimer had she have known that. It's like, really?
What if?
So you'd have been more content to conceal this. I'll just get into the main point as you rumpus me. So had you have known that this person doesn't agree with your model being the world we live on, you would have concealed some of these details from him. In fact, not even had the conversation at all. At that point, you can start labouring the aspects of deceit based on her actions.
Sorry for interrupting. I thought you were done. Yeah, so let me change the situation here. Let's say I'm her colleague, and I see all these P900 videos, and I say, you know what? I'm going to be the next Al-Biruni. He got the Earth radius wrong. I'm going to go get it right. So I take out my P900, and I pick a clear, crisp winter day. Air temperature, sea temperature about the same rather than a big difference. And then I go on the seashore or on top of a mountain, and I do the same thing that Al-Biruni did. And now the radius of the Earth is 250,000 miles. And so I come with empirical data. Here's what Al-Biruni didn't have. Here's what we have at our disposal. Here's proof that we live on a sphere, but the radius is 250,000 miles. And how in the world do you have the jet fuel to get to these places if it's that big? And everything else we said is wrong. So I get the Nobel Peace Prize for proving a sphere with a radius of 250,000. Would that go well?
Well, no, because the supposition that it's a sphere and the size of that sphere are two slightly different things.
No, I'm her colleague. I say we got the model wrong. Here's empirical proof why we got the model wrong, and there's much bigger than we thought. Let's change the model and see what happens. Why shouldn't I get the Nobel Prize? I'm still a glober.
Because you can't change the R value. It's set in stone in both metaphorical and reified physical terms.
I love the position we're in.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you're currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Check it out, Arwin had the good decency to wait till the intro is over. Thank you, Arwin.
I got the notification early, so yeah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, welcome. You had a good show today?
A bit toasty. I mean, it was so hot, man. You probably got air conditioning, right? Where you're
No, you've got to be joking.
No.
No.
I just got good shade.
No. Just gets really hot. Don't moan about it much.
Well, I'm on camera there, so, and yeah, like I'm facing my monitor. You must be, yeah, you're using a projector, right? So it's at a distance. Oh, like just facing my monitor at 1 meter distance just makes me feel the heat from it, like blast my face. So
yeah, I've got
it's a hot day.
Several boxes that produce about a kilowatt of electricity. So, well, maybe not a kilowatt
Really?
each, but yes, a lot of electricity, a lot of heat gets generated in this room. So in a blisteringly hot summer, I've said this when the days have been blisteringly hot here, nobody cares about how hot I am. Nobody cares if they can hear a fan in the background that's distorting the noise and they can't quite make out what's being said. Then they care. How hot or comfortable I am is just not of any audience members' concern at all. They don't care. Why would they?
I do.
Oh, you're really concerned about the guy on the other side of the iPad screen and how warm or cold he is? Come on.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh.
I want everybody to keep it cool enough so they can at least focus and not get lost in the conversation.
But that's what I mean. Get lost in the conversation they care about. You know, a consequence of it being heat they don't care about. Just, well, why has this person got lost in their talk? Why have they not kept track of what they're talking about? Anyway, let's do a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
I got it.
Where?
The depression angle between the horizontal plane of the eye line and the horizontal plane you stand upon when graphed over altitude shows a curve.
But you're just drawing lots of straight lines between two planes and then saying that as you back away and draw those lines, like if you're doing a spirograph, you can form a curve from the straight lines that you drew out if you lay them all on top of each other in an orthographic representation. Is that seriously what you're saying? That all those lines that you draw would make a curve eventually if you had all of them all at once?
Well, that is the actual Earth curve plane.
I know. Isn't that nuts? Shout out to Brian and everybody on Flat Earth Debate who are all ace. We are absolutely at the cutting edge of this argument at the moment. It doesn't get any better than this. Any evidence of axial...
Hang on. Don't miss it. A couple of weeks ago, I brought up their reference to perspective, but they don't say it that way. They say projected geometry. So they'll take the sensible horizon, that eye-line horizontal John just referenced. They'll take the geoidal, or your eyes on the water horizon, and they'll take the rational horizon, which is the center of Earth, cut that plane, the equatorial plane. So you got three horizontal lines. And guess what they say? They meet, even though they're parallel, they meet at infinity. Then you say, well, what's infinity? Well, it's the vanishing point. You mean like perspective, where everything seems to converge together? Is that what you mean? And that's exactly what they mean. So what is that telling you now?
You need a flat plane for Earth curve.
Well, when you see convergence and you see perspective, you can explain everything. When they deny it in their orthographic pictures and the 100-foot building's 100 foot, 100 miles away, they're denying that by admitting to this.
Okay, it's not geometric, but you can still just look at it and then imagine like it is some kind of part of a geometry, right? The thought experiment.
The old geometric considerations.
Exactly. So you just look at that edge of your vision and then just imagine like that's actually the edge of a ball you're standing on. And that's
It's not like, no, it's not pitched as being needed to be imagined. It's designed to be reified. The mathematics, the begging the question proof of, I think, perspective hijacking, as 10th is pointing it out, Earth curve mathematics, are there for you intentionally to reify the horizon into the Earth curve edge that boats are going to fall over and be blocked at a feet and inches value that ignores perspective. So no, it's not that you've got to go, oh, well, if I imagine that the horizon's Earth curve. No, there it is in the maths. It's a necessity of a globe Earth.
Yeah, but that's the other side, right? It's one part math, one part imagination.
It's imagination because it isn't. But in terms of what the Western world think it is, they think it's, a blockage, a hill in the way, the Earth curve that would be there if we were on a sphere.
But Arwen was correct in saying he can do all that as long as it was a thought experiment.
I think at the higher echelons of globe understanding, which we are part of, we appreciate that, it must be reified in order to have that understanding translate into the world that you live in. And at that point, with that understanding, Arwen, you, I, or anybody else in the upper priesthood of heliocentrism would appreciate that it's just a model. Therefore, would require reification that has the fantasy attached. But that's not true for the most part of Western world. They actually do think that the horizon is Earth curve and the boats are going to fall over it.
You remember that reference/citation that I shared many times over about we need to embrace the fiction in our science?
Andrew Thomas Young?
It was that organization. I'll see if I can find it. I'll post it again.
I do remember it, though. Yes, I do remember.
Yeah, and so they had all these terms that people reify, but then they said it's a thought experiment, basically. They're reifying. So how do you embrace fiction in your science?
It was in their maths.
Right. Yeah, it only exists in their maths. It only exists in a thought experiment. That's the whole point. But they're saying that since they don't have any empirical data for it, they have to do it this way, which is an admission to what Arwen is saying. All it is a thought experiment, and they reified it and put some math to it.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. That text is describing what Arwen's describing, which is to say, when he says, I've got to have part fiction or part fantasy embraced, that's what that text is essentially saying. And that's what I'm saying when I say the higher echelons, which we're a part of, the higher understandings of a heliocentric model and its origins in a flat Earth, you must embrace the fiction. The distinction being that average Joe Normie doesn't embrace the fiction. He suspends disbelief without knowing it. There's a very distinct difference. They sound like complicated terms, and they kind of are. But a suspension of disbelief is what you do if you go and watch Superman at the cinema. You know that Superman can't fly, but for the purposes of watching the movie, you suspend that disbelief. Suspension meaning you don't hold that disbelief. You don't go, no, so he can't fly, and then walk out the cinema. Right? So you suspend your disbelief. Well, when you were watching Superman fly around the globe, what you were unaware of was that you were also suspending disbelief about the sphere behind him that he's flying around. So you are unconsciously suspending disbelief because you haven't ever had that viewpoint. Shout out to Math Powerland. If you can't get that vantage, that's the only reference you have. Therefore, by nature, by pure definition, you can't have referenced it. Therefore, it is a suspension of disbelief. But at a conscious or whatever level, you don't know that. You just think there's the globe as it is. You're not telling yourself, well, I know that it's not really a globe, it's just a model on a cinema screen that's been reified into this cinematography to make it seem like that's Superman's world, and it's not really mine, but for the purposes of the film, I'll just accept that the globe Earth is the world that Superman's part of, because I'm suspending disbelief and I don't want to walk out the cinema. You don't extend it to the globe, only to Superman flying around it. However, next step, us knowing that the globe is not true, if we go and watch Superman flying around the globe, we have to suspend disbelief that one step further. We have to, quote, embrace the fiction in order to suspend disbelief. And I've said many times before, for me, it's one step too far. It was. I'm getting past that now. But Amir, I remember Amir from way back when, Insanity is Sanity, describing this to me only a year into Flat Earth, and we were both relatively new to the subject. And in an interview, he was saying, I've just gone out and bought the new Star Wars game. I can get past it, I can still suspend disbelief. He didn't use those words, but that's essentially what he was describing. Now, for me, it was a little bit more painful because I had a close, like a lot of us here, a closer attachment to space, to that fantasy world, that religion. Therefore, it was hard to let go after you've been scorned. you don't go back to it. And I remember distinctly having put a load of movies onto a load of hard drives that I'd just got just before Flat Earth. I'd spent hours, if not months, in fact, putting movies that were a lot of them space related onto the hard drive. And then I didn't watch them and felt quite gutted about the whole thing because I couldn't suspend disbelief. As soon as I saw somebody step off a planet or whatever, I was like, well, that's just not true. As opposed to, wow, well, for the sake of this, it's fine. There is no Middle Earth, but I'll suspend disbelief that there is for the movie. But when it's just Earth, you go, Earth as a sphere isn't real, so I'm finding it a bit of a struggle to actually watch this movie now. Shout out to Antecedent Algonquin Collective, who says first, thank you for the super chat. Smash that super chat if you want to support this channel. I like the numbers, by the way. We were at like 60 viewers after 5 minutes of being live today. And we're getting ever closer to 100, and we're only about a quarter of an hour in. So massive thank you to all of you who've shared the show already. That's no doubt whatsoever in my mind why. I did find something out quite interesting. I know we're segueing away from the housekeeping after a long waffle from me, but if you're not getting notifications, it's probably because you're not liking the video. So as much as I say, the likes don't matter, actually they do. Well, I've been informed by another YouTuber that I trust to have decent information. Let's just say I haven't verified this yet, but I will. But from what he was explaining, if you're not getting notifications, it's because you haven't come to the video and gone, oh, I like this, and liked it. You've just gone, well, I like watching the video, I'll enjoy it, as opposed to hitting the like button. But if you do, there's a better chance that you'll actually get the notifications. So Arwin mentioned it earlier, well, I am getting notifications. There's a good chance that you actually slammed a like on one of the Flat Earth debates whilst live, and that's triggered the algorithm to say, no, actually, we do need to notify him this, even though he specifically said he wanted them. He does want them, because he's liking it. Shout out to, hey, it's Insanity is Insanity. No way, Amir. I'm just talking about you. Oh, wow. Speak of the devil. Here's to the good old days. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. And also shout out to Elvis Kaforovic. Thank you very much. Just gives me money. Thank you very much, both of you, for the super chats. Really appreciate the support. Thank you very much indeed. But yeah, you were way ahead of us in that regard, Amir, if you can if you're out there listening, which you are, you were able to suspend disbelief much quicker than I was. I couldn't get past that. You did it instantly. You were like, I want to play the new Star Wars game. So yeah, suspension of disbelief is what's required. I want to play Star Wars. So I'll suspend disbelief. No bother. I'm like, no. I feel like it's like a jilted lover. I can't go back to space and play Star Wars. It's just beyond question. You can't do that. But no, you can. And now I'm there. I'm with you. 5, 6, 7 years later. Anyway.
I had a hard time with that at the beginning, too. But now I'm good.
Yeah, right. Like, you're good with ether.
I'm good with ether, Nathan. You handle it perfectly. I don't got to do a thing.
Yeah, you're the one that brings it up. Typically, you trigger the Discord server by saying that you're getting past ether and how you're not going to talk about ether and how you're not going to let it bother you anymore. It's like, this is very telling. Anyway, any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
How about ether rotation?
Ether rotation. Good one, Owen. No, Nathan, I say that because I want them to come clean. Stop skirting around the edges, saying I'm throwing monkey wrenches. Just come right out with your nonsense and admit that you're still eating at the feast of nonsense. That's all.
Nathan, I put it up in Master B. If you can click on that link about the fictitious
Master
and the
D.
science.
Master D. It got rebranded by me yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
It's Master D now.
Fine.
So what's this? Words for thought. Notes from the glossary of mapping. Is that what you want?
Yeah, fictitious geometry. Geography. Geometry. That too. So if you go down in science and also in mapping, we're concerned with nonfiction generally in our work. But all too often, we lose sight of the fact that much of our nonfiction is built upon abstraction and arbitrarily agreed upon convention, like p-values, for instance. With that in mind today, I will share some words from the glossary to help us remember that right there in our nonfiction research is our own fiction that we like to call abstraction and assumption. I couldn't have said it better. Look at Coriolis force, a fictitious force, okay? Equator fictitious, a line other than the equator, reference ellipsoid, okay. If you go down to latitude fictitious, longitude fictitious, radius of Earth effective, a fictitious value of Earth's radius when used in a formula for the distance from a point to a geometric horizon gives the same answer as with using the true value of a radius in a formula for a distance to the apparent horizon. Earth was spherical and without air, tangents drawn to the surface from a point above it would define a circle. Okay? So you can see that they're hiding behind this fictitious, and they have to go to extra steps in order to hide what's not there in reality. And why would you ever start off and say that we have our own fiction in science?
I can quote an anti-flat earther and give you the answer from AB Science. We are not going to see the geometric horizon.
Well, then goodbye for Al-Biruni and all the claims.
Yeah, there it is marked with an X labelled horizon in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, and we're told by our opponents we're not expecting to see this. Shout out to Retro Bill. He says, believing Earth images requires suspended animation. Very good. Love it. Speaking of which, any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container for all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe the sky is a vacuum?
Maybe the container is ether. Sorry.
Negative. You cannot have gas pressure without a container.
Well, if gravity could be the container for gas in the minds of men, then maybe ether can too.
Oh, ether. What's ether?
Yeah, that the point is not to ask that question. as long as you can believe that it could be the container.
Okay. Gas doesn't go
Morning,
down, go
guys.
boom, boom, and non-manifest counter space isn't a container. Containment must be manifest. I must be physical and solid and capable of having gas press on it.
Oh, really? What's
Yes.
the 5 constituent parts of a magnet, Nathan?
He doesn't
Who
understand.
cares?
The whole,
I don't
the
see how
whole
that's
point
relevant.
about
Neil.
ether is there has to be something there because there isn't anything there.
What does
So
a magnet
if there's
have to
something
do?
there because there isn't anything there, then maybe that can be the container.
Beautiful. What a load of old nonsense. Any scientific
What does a
evidence of
magnet?
gravity?
Hang on. What does a magnet have to do with ether?
Who cares?
I
Is
want the
anybody?
5
Nobody's
parts right
claiming
now.
ether. You can become ether win. What the hell? Nobody's claiming it. Who's claiming ether? Anybody?
Neil,
Anyway, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Hello,
But
chocolate.
don't
You're
you
not
want the
claiming
5
ether, are you,
parts of a
chocolate?
magnet?
No, don't care.
There any scientific evidence of gravity, given that the majority of the Western world believe gas go down, go boom, boom like bouncy balls poured into a fish tank?
What is it?
there's as much evidence for their gravity as there is for their R. None.
All unsupported matter goes down.
Gas does not go down, go boom, boom. I just said that like 30 seconds ago.
We said unsupported matter. Is gas supported?
It can be.
What?
Yeah, it's got a pair of long johns, Neil.
So that's like saying...
That's
might happen.
Hold on, hold on. I've just
That is
spotted what Neil's
allowed.
done. Hold on, I didn't have my guard up. I didn't know what Neil was doing until I realised, right? So what you're doing is you're distinguishing, you're separating out matter into various different categories. It's already done for you. You don't need to produce separate ones that only, what is the gravity obeying matter and the non-gravity obeying matter? Is that how it works? No. You've got solids, liquid, and gases, and they all behave differently.
That's what they tell me.
Who's they?
The guy's in chat. As his name is Bendy Light. He says there's no such thing as relative density. It's not proven, and gravity is the only thing that makes sense because everything goes down. Everything that's all unsupported matter pulls to the center of the Earth, and gases are supported.
What does he mean it's not proven? It's officially inscribed in the literature.
You
They
can
call it
debunk what he says
specific
anyway.
gravity.
If you-
It's exactly relative density.
If all unsupported matter goes down, yeah, well, then you just introduce a gas to a vacuum. Well, that's unsupported, right? There's nothing else in the vacuum to support it, but yet it goes up. It's just completely crapping on this guy's statement.
Right.
Not in his model, Neil. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Relative density is not disproven. It is universally understood, and then gravity is leeching off that by claiming to be supposedly the cause of relative density displacement. But yeah, that's through Newtonian thinking, and that isn't even officially recognized anymore. So it's just a giant cluster F.
Oh, and hold on. I'm sorry. He didn't say not proven. He said the only thing that makes sense is gravity. Like it doesn't explain everything relative density, but
Everything-
gravity does.
Well, gravity would have gas going down, go
Right.
boom, boom in the description, though, wouldn't it? Homogeneous layers of gas, columns of gas, the gas above,
Good
pressing
song.
on the gas below. Gas go down, go boom, boom. That's what you need to believe if you're a gravity believer. Well, gas doesn't behave
Right,
that
but
way.
they say that's only one thing. It's only one thing.
Oh, it's only
Everything else
one
is-
thing
Why is that,
violated. It's
Nathan?
only just one thing violating it. It doesn't matter. It's only one. I mean, everything else obeys gravity, except for the stuff that doesn't. But that's only
Well, someone
one.
please-
It's only,
But gases are all-
it's only
they don't
gas.
mix.
It's only something that basically anything could become. It's like just, it's only one phase of matter. It's only one state of matter. I mean, who cares? The other states work with gravity.
Will someone please
Gas are just
identify?
really small liquid droplets. No.
Will someone please define gravity?
No.
Okay, fine. It's the uneven distribution of mass causing the bending of space-time. Space-time
And where do
bending
we
being
see
the gravity. Am I getting rumpused? It's the uneven... There's the rumpusing again. It's the uneven distribution of mass causing what is known as gravity, which is the bending of space-time.
When do we see that?
We don't see it. That's pseudo-Riemannian four-space geometry. So it's Einstein's made-up geometry, mathematical, and it's the bending of time in that geometry. So pseudo-Riemannian four-space geometry, Einstein's bending space-time geometry. It's not real. We're not talking about reality. We're talking about bending space-time.
Okay, well, that's
I
another
have
one.
two objections.
How do you bend space-time?
With a spanner.
We
So there's
can't
a
do
claim
that
of a
here in the third dimension. Space-time can only be bent in the pseudo-Riemannian four-space dimension. We can't do that. Only it can do it to itself.
Uneven distribution of mass is the cause in pseudo-geometry. This isn't something that occurs at all ever in physical reality. It's a description of something occurring in a pseudo-geometry. Why? Well, time isn't a dimension. Time's conceptual. So to have space-time, a conceptual medium, bend or dilate is nonsense. You can't bend and dilate concepts. Likewise, you can't bend love. It's a concept.
I would like to
Where
point
does the
out
gas
that,
pressure? Sorry, John. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd like to point out that unmanifest medium and a conceptual medium are the same thing. And if you're going to assert a mass or a center of mass, you'll need a flat plane to assert a radius.
Can you cover what you covered in the pre-show about the antipodal star positioning argument, which I'll put to you now? If Earth is a sphere, then we will observe stars antipodal from my position if I travel to the southern hemisphere. That's it. I'm not going to put the rest of the affirm and the consequent together in case that's what you're waiting for. Or if I lost my internet connection.
No, we still got you.
John may not know you're asking him to say something.
John, in the pre-show, you said your new favourite flat Earth proof is the antipodal star positioning argument in its counter. And I'm leading you in by saying, if Earth's a sphere, then I will observe antipodal star rotation when travelling from the northern to the southern hemisphere. How would that be your favourite flat Earth proof?
Well, because the idea of hemispheres comes from the celestial sphere model, and taking the northern hemisphere and sandwiching the southern hemisphere antipodal to it. So you need two flat planes for that example.
So to model that sphere, that antipodal assumption of star rotation in the southern hemisphere, because of the antipodal positioning, you're saying to have antipodal positioning, you're taking a reification not of the sphere model, but of the celestial sphere model. And when that's modelled with the southern stars stuck to the bottom of the northern stars, that's two flat planes on top of each other, with the celestial sphere now complete from two separate hemispheres above and below those two flat planes sandwiched antipodal from one another. Therefore, the assertion of antipodal positioning is actually antipodal modelling with two flat planes, correct?
Right. Yeah, you need a flat Earth for that.
I love it. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, that's impossible.
If there was, what would be the purpose? Science doesn't prove anything anymore, according to these guys.
Oh, according to these guys. Yeah, science does prove things. That's all it does. That's its only purpose. if you perform the method with a valid hypothesis, then you have a null that will be proven, or the alternative hypothesis will be proven at the end of the process. So there's only one outcome, proof. So to say that science doesn't prove things
It's
is
not going to
nonsense.
work if you use presuppositions, though. And they do.
I just like to reminisce about when I was called a science denier and told that I'm a stupid flat earther because we have all this science that proves the globe, and now the very same thing doesn't prove anything now. It's horrible.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Hell no.
P waves and S waves.
I was going to say that.
What about them? Primary and secondary waves. Okay, go ahead.
Well, they attempted to use that to predict what they were going to find as they were drilling down through the deep borehole, and they were wrong every step of the way. And that's my evidence for the molten iron core, that they tried to figure out what would be down there, and every reading they got that they actually tested their reading, they were always wrong. That's the proof.
That's asked about face. Hold on. Saying that you made predictions with P waves and S waves, then dug a big hole, and at every stage that you dug, you verified that your predictions were correct, and your predictions with the same equipment said that you've got a molten iron core when you presuppose a spherical Earth, as disclaimed in the question. That would make sense.
Yes.
No, but you're not doing that. You're saying they made predictions for what they would dig at the Kola super deep borehole, and upon digging, they didn't get the predictions correct. Ergo, because they didn't get the predictions correct, that proves that there is the correct predictions from P waves and S waves. That makes no sense. Shout out to you,
Yes, it does.
That checks
No,
out.
because science doesn't prove anything, and this proves that.
What?
Globe logic.
This. Hold on. Where did we get to this being science? P waves and S waves aren't science.
It can't.
I just wanted to
P
try
waves
that.
and S wave science.
How do you measure the return signal with the curved baseline?
You don't.
How would you?
You just apply terrestrial refraction and everything.
Hold on
will
a
be
second.
fine.
John's just turned P waves and S waves into a flat Earth proof. Can someone give him some props? And shout out to Untitled who says, for molten iron core, we're still digging. Thank you very much, Sasha. Go ahead, John. Say that once more.
How are you going to measure the angle of the return signals from the P waves and S waves without a flat baseline?
You can't. You're going to need a flat plane for that. Any
That's what
evidence
we got terrestrial refraction for. You can just use the flat plane math, and then first you have to basically back engineer that through the globe model, and then when you've used that, you got the accurate data, then you can reconstruct the globe math on top of it again. That's how you do it.
You can't apply terrestrial refraction to the ground, inside the ground. But you need atmosphere, right, for terrestrial
Yeah.
refraction?
No, of course you can do that. It's math. You can do that all you like.
No, in the conversion you described, you're at the point where you've got half a sign projecting the globe from the inside. So you're still measuring the angle from the plane. That puts the map of the globe concave with you inside it. So at that point, no. If you're going to apply terrestrial refraction, it's 7/6 of the radius, which it flattens out a curve, but on the outside edge of a sphere, not the inside.
Yes. Yeah, but I mean, come on. Universal terrestrial refraction accounts for all the depths and all the heights, right? It's a little bit more complicated than just 7/6R, which is really for the surface condition.
You're not measuring
Well,
the surface.
It couldn't be terrestrial refraction because that's claimed to be bending through atmosphere. There's no atmos to bend through.
Yeah, well, there's molten iron, man, and that's very hard to look through. So, but if it were air, if the molten iron core were evacuated in no core day, then you would be able to see
No core day.
how that part of the Earth would be hollow.
Oh, this has descended into total nonsense, Ivan. You're failing miserably with this.
It's really hot here.
Well, that's a fair enough excuse. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It seems very close today,
Oh, somebody's
but I
at my
don't
door.
think there is an actual distance.
Where's 10th man? Take the reins, quick.
Well, I was just going to say, when he's talking about the molten iron core, and then he says it's very hot here. So where is he at?
Well, I'm seeing the sunlight, so I'm assuming that I'm on Earth's surface, at least.
Yeah. I love it when you get into the math and try to reify it. It just doesn't work out.
Yeah, but you can always try, right? And it takes some time for a lot of people to actually catch on. That it
No,
doesn't work.
it's a clever gig you got there. You got Arwen and then you got Baldwin. So you interchange and we catch you. And the average Joe's saying, why is that guy saying two different things?
Ether win too.
I'll figure it out eventually.
The claim of a distance to the sun comes directly from a back engineering of its angular size. There cannot be an angular size to the sun on the globe model within heliocentrism, as perspective cannot and does not exist in orthographic view, and all heliocentric mass, starting with their own radius and globe model, is inorthographic. So that is the end of that. The fact the sun has an angular size debunks heliocentrism.
Everything you just said is correct, and to a glober's ears, sound even more complicated than what I just speculated about the molten iron core. Just saying.
Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline, as we've just covered it?
Does not compute.
Yeah, just use the flat line first.
Yeah, just throw it out a tangent plane, you'd be grand. You know, that's all you need. Just put a tangent plane on the top, touching your sphere at one point, and make it as large as you need it to be. You make an angle on this huge horizontal that you're after making, and then you move that angle to a second huge horizontal that's running straight through the center of that sphere. So you can absolutely get an angle on a sphere with two parallel horizontals that you can't have on a sphere. But anyway.
I was going to say, with two parallel horizontals, which you can't have on a sphere. I don't get why you guys at the moment have got this thing of saying you can do that on a sphere, then describing how you do it on a flat Earth, and then saying which you can't do on a sphere at the end. But if you're starting off by saying that's how you can do it on a sphere, can you not just actually try and do it on a sphere rather than disclaiming that you'll need a flat Earth? I mean, I've got no job to do if you do that.
No, that's not possible. We need a massive imaginary horizontal, which will actually just be reality. But what we will do is we will hijack that reality and call it a tangent plane. That's what we will do. And then state that the curved globe Earth that is underneath this tangent plane comes up visually to meet it due to 7/6 of the radius refraction calculation. And then we will claim that that is how you get an angle on a curved surface.
Just make it easy, man. Just channel.
Hang on. Even though 7/6 or just makes their sphere bigger and still gives them a curved surface, also curved surface, that's how you can still get it an angle on a curved surface using something that isn't curved.
I distinctly remember, I'm sorry, Brian, I distinctly remember Chocolate asking a prominent anti-flat earther why they just don't use the curved surface. And there was an answer. And the answer was, well, we have to measure a flat first.
Shout out to Zanuck.
He also told us that we need to get over the fact that they need a flat plane first. You need to get over that.
No, the globers need to get over that horizon and prove it's geometric.
Well,
You still hung up on that, Nathan?
Yeah, that was what he said. That was it. You're just getting hung up on the flat plane. What, the flat plane that you're using to do these measurements? Sorry if you can hear me unboxing something. I should really do this off mic.
was going to say, we could just channel our inner George Mooser. You can't do it on a sphere, but you can think of it like you could do it on a sphere. There you go. Nice and simple, and Bob's your uncle.
Man, I've eaten bad
that's
food in my
technically
day,
correct.
but I'm saying I've eaten bad food in my day and it's been terrible. But an inner George Muser, oh my gosh, I don't know.
Chocolate, we ain't got to work on a really is level, bro.
Nah, we don't need that, bro. That's old school. That's old and busted. That really is level. We can work on the not really is level. That's great. And it's almost like I feel like most of the world is doing this now. It's not even just in this arena. This is like the real pandemic that's going on. People just pretending to be other shit, just redefining words, and it's becoming really bad.
It's the really is. It's the not really is pandemic.
Serious.
Well, chocolate, everyone's got an avatar now. They can be 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, and not be the person that they really are.
Or no people.
Sorry, this is
Or no
news to me.
cats.
What? Did I miss something? Do we in 2055 suddenly? What?
Yeah. We went into the world of George Mooser, where we don't live on the really is level. And we can just think of things that are not the way they are, but we can just think of it like that. It's great.
Oh, that's not new. There's always been fantasists.
True, but it's becoming like a worldwide pandemic type thing, I think.
But you never had in the past what you currently have now, which is we know what they use the television for, programming. Now everyone's got a smartphone, and now they're using that for programming. Everyone's connected to this
And now it's
line matrix.
Your tinker-tailored personal programming based on your metadata that you hand to them, and then you get that private program, so the programmers don't have to worry about cross-contamination of programs with each person. They can just direct it at the individual now.
That's so good to know. Thank you for that.
Well, it was all described in 1984, though. And I can't remember, I think it might have been Mr. Cheswick put up an old 1950s, this is what the future will look like. And they're absolutely pegged right down to the pandemic.
For real, George Orwell is so on point. Like, not even funny.
I think that's it. I think we covered all the housekeeping questions, which is nice. Good size audience as well. Hello to everyone in the live stream. Good to have you.
Nathan, I got those images that you and John were talking about, the northern and southern hemisphere, if you want John to comment on it with a visual.
I don't know if it'd be my first choice, but sure.
Oh, you said the housekeeping questions are over. I thought
I just mean the fact that there's raspberries in it.
Oh, no, that's a grape.
Okay, grapes.
Yeah, now keep going. I put that there because I thought that was funny, but go to the next one.
Okay, but we're just showing people what a hemisphere looks like in their globe Earth paradigm. Whereas what John's describing, this is after Haversine, right? So you'd have 2 flat planes with the celestial sphere around it. Obviously, if you're utilising this with any sort of star claim, where are the stars? Well, they don't exist. So you're just taking out the celestial sphere of the heavens, removing the flat plane, although it does have it sort of depicted on the grey bit, but ultimately you're just left with the mind's eye seeing the map of the world on top of the sphere in this particular
Go to
one.
the third picture, Nathan.
Okay. Which doesn't help either. I'm sorry, these aren't great.
No, listen. Just listen. Those are protractors.
Okay.
Those are 2 protractors.
You just have to
The
accept that these aren't good diagrams.
The angle measurements can never come from a curved surface, right?
We can put all the caveats on this, but this is just a picture of the globe as far as I'm concerned.
I know, but let it play out here. So what you've got here, before we go to the images with the celestial sphere and the stars and the concave and the reprojection back with the Haversine, that the 2 points on the sphere is where you're at. Yes, we've covered that. I'm just going with what John said. If you cut it in half, you have a northern and a southern. And there it is. And where do all the elevation angle measurements in all the nautical almanac books derive from.
From the centre of this map, with you in the side of it looking up at a concave sphere Earth after haversines applied, with the projection of the celestial sphere outside of this.
Right. So since none of the elevation angle measurements are derived from the curved part of this, but always the flat part, then they reify the protractor.
Sure.
Real simple. Good point. Good point there, John.
Out of interest, when the pre-show started, you guys were suddenly talking about NASA fakery. Now, typically, that only happens when there's some sort of new NASA fakery that's out. Is that the case?
No, I brought it up because I was talking to a friend of mine about when we share this topic, why do they, coil up and get defensive and defend instead of saying, why do you feel that way about it? Didn't you at one time believe the Earth was a globe? Or, just the conversation like that doesn't really happen with too many people. But it can happen, and I've had it, so I can't say it doesn't, because I've had some really good conversations with people. But then most of the time, it goes back to pride, and that's why I brought it up, because the main reason we can't have a civil discussion, even with friends, on this matter is because of pride. It's not so much NASA lied to us.
Pride and feelings.
Yeah, it's not so much NASA lied to us, Chocolate. It's the fact that you told me NASA lied to me, and I didn't tell you first.
That's a lot of what it is, too.
You think so?
You think you're better? Yeah, I've gotten that. You think you're better because you know something I don't. I've literally gotten that from people. Yes.
Well, that's the contrast to what Validation Boy was saying when his attitude was just know and be better. That was kind of what he was saying. By not telling them, you can just have a kind of, I'm paraphrasing, but he's sort of saying you can have a wry smile and just know that isn't the case without telling them. And then you're saying, well, by telling them, suddenly they resent you because what? You think you're better than me because you found out first? Well, it just lends a bit more credence to Validation Boy's attitude, which I sort of scorned and I've typically made jokes about it, but it just seems so weird that is actually the contrast to what he was saying. He was right. I'm not saying he was right, but he was more right than I thought he was. Bloody hell.
Well, when you have a friend for, say, 20, 30 years, and all of a sudden this topic comes up, and the behavior doesn't match what that friend's behavior previously on other topics, but all of a sudden 20, 30 years of friendship, 20, 30 years of respect, 20, 30 years of, I know this guy isn't crazy. Why would he say such a thing like this? This is cognitive dissonance hit me in the head. I need to find out because this is a trustworthy friend. How come that doesn't happen?
Chocolate? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you why. It's pride.
Yeah, there's definitely that sense of pride and like it's like something said, oh, you're telling me this, and it's like they give that attitude, right? Because you're telling them something they don't really know. And it's not like you're trying to hide it, you're just sharing it with them. And it's like, oh, well, I didn't find this out on my own. And now I feel kind of weird because you're telling me this thing about the world that I live in that I think I'm running around knowing. But now you're telling me all these things that I don't really know. Right? And of course, they always make it sound like we're just crazy and shit. But then when they hear you actually know what the hell you're saying, it becomes a problem. You could see it on their face. It's crazy.
It is. You're spot on there. It's funny because I've done it to good friends of mine, and I would say that some of them say, "What makes you say that?" Do you have any proof for this? Because I've been seeing that on the internet. Yeah. I mean, they're saying it's a conspiracy, tinfoil, crazy people believe in flat Earth. And I said, yeah, I know, but it's like, if you saw evidence, would you dismiss it? Because the world said it was crazy, but the evidence shows the world has been lied to. I mean, if a friend comes to you and says, I think we've been lied to on a grand scale, what's your first response? Well, tell me, because that's what a friend's for. But that's not what happens.
Not with this subject.
Or with any subject.
That's the funniest part.
Well, just as
different subjts, people will accept a lot more willingly than this one.
But why chocolate?
Just let me contrast it with a different subject. Because there's going to be people out there that can totally relate to this, right? You're in a scenario where you've got a girl or guy friend, not lover, just friend. And that friend has a lover who you know is cheating. You've caught them red-handed, say. Does it work out well for you to go and tell your friend about their cheating lover? Does that ever work out well for you telling that person?
Not initially, but hold on a second. As a friend, it is your duty to tell them. Even if you lose that friend.
Not asked. This isn't an ethical question. It's a reaction question.
It may or may not, depending on the person who's cheating, if they're willing to admit they erred and ask for forgiveness. If they're willing to be stubborn and say, I can't believe you told on me, I'm not your friend anymore. Well, then that's where John is going, is saying, well, you know, if you have absolutes that you live by, you don't care about the consequences.
Initially, though, that friend may shoot the messenger.
Yeah,
how is it any
I'm
different?
Okay with that.
If we're saying that the reaction, according to this conversation at least, is that they're made to feel dumb, then you're the messenger of you're ignorant. I'm going to have to paraphrase that, but I would be saying to the person who's feeling like they're made to be dumb, you are dumb, you're ignorant, here's how you're ignorant. Shout out to Godzilla37. He says, Bob the Science Guy is trying to get his point across in chat with numerous posts. Doesn't seem to be working, so I'll help him. Chat. Bob's a numpty. Thanks, Godzilla.
Nathan, I think your scenario is missing another disclaimer. What does it cost to tell the truth? And will you suffer the consequences that happens when you tell the truth? That's really, if you have to contemplate that, then you're worried about what people think of you or the ramifications of a friend who may say you're no longer my friend because you told my girlfriend this. It all depends who you are. If you don't care about the consequences of being truthful, you'll just tell the truth in the best way you can. You might even go to your friend and say, you need to stop this. You may have even tried that in the past.
It's an interesting contemplation because sometimes you're not helping these people. Obviously, the people in the same community are equally likely to have come across this information in the way we're trying to disseminate. It should be disseminated. And they've turned to anti-flat Earth, you know. They were offered the light and they went to the dark.
Well, I've had people call me crazy. I've had people say, you're falling for a psyop. They do all this stuff. And I said, look, you're my friend. Why don't you ask me for evidence that makes me and leads me to say the things I say? How come you didn't go there? How come you're just piling on with the rhetoric? I mean, I've known you X amount of years, and I would like for you to ask me why I believe this, why I'm challenging the current narrative. Why aren't you asking me that? And that's when they walk away because they don't want to hear it.
It's funny because like 5 minutes before the show started, I got a comment on one of my songs, and the guy literally said that Flat Earth is a psychological op. It's hilarious.
Well, then do your duty. Help me out of it.
No, but they don't want help. As soon as they say it's a psyop.
You should help me out of it. You're my friend. Show me why it's a psychological op. Can you destroy this evidence that's awoken my consciousness to the lie? Can you at least help me overcome some of my doubts so that I could get back to that mathematical world of yours where I'm not concerned about these things anymore? Come on, Chocolate, help me. We've known each other for years.
Don't be an enabler, Chocolate.
Don't call me crazy and hold out the aspirin. Come on, Chocolate, help me.
Listen, my coworkers get mad when I say, listen, I'm not trying to tell you that the Earth is anything more than you experience it as, right? The only difference between us is that you've got a cool story as to how we experience it. I just experience it and accept it for what it is. And they don't like that. Because when they want to know what is it, what is the Earth? I can't tell you what is the Earth. That's insane. Who am I, a god, to tell you what the entire Earth is? I'm just telling you it's what you experience it as, and not different. And the only difference between us is that you've got a different story as to everything we experience. Literally, the opposite of what we experience is what your story is, and you accept that. Now, that's fine if you choose to accept it, but I do not. And that's it.
Yeah, I'd like to hear somebody that actually understands that they're using a flat plane, applying the Habersign formula to a celestial sphere model to project that flat plane out onto the celestial sphere, and believes that to be true, that a flat plane can be a sphere. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody cognitively accept that information and then still assert it as true.
Then Ruhif say that you need to do the Habersign formula for it all to work out?
Right, but he was asserting that the flat plane you're using has nothing to do with the ground. And I don't think he understood that it had nothing to do with the ground on a sphere. You know, the flat plane is the Earth you're standing on, and he wouldn't accept that.
Well, is the center of the Earth ground?
I don't know. That seems like a malformed question.
Well, if all the measurements are coming from a disk when you cut the Earth in the northern and southern hemisphere, and it's an elevation angle that gives you 90 degrees there, that whole diameter is a 180.
I am presenting with the past 6 or 7 minutes a whole diagram and thing to explain this.
In that case,
ignoring it.
In that case, I pass it on to you.
Sorry, Brian.
See what happens with Nathan. Nathan, I can do this in the after show if you want, because it's almost at the end of the live show. Leave it up there.
What, did he forget about you?
I don't know where Nathan is. He was there a few minutes ago, so
Nathan got the package. Nathan got the package.
No, he's got
What are you talking about? I'm still here. What makes you think I've gone somewhere?
Just got quiet. When we mentioned your name, you didn't say it, and I said that we'll wait till Nathan comes back. So, will I do this in the after show, Nathan?
That's up to you. Shout out to Chronicles of the Unconvinced, who says, Nathan, thanks for the Yeti mic. You're awesome. My pleasure. Somebody reached out to me after I said I was giving away some of the equipment.
Guy.
And I've sent him my Yeti.
I'm sorry, I stepped on what you were saying. Sorry.
Just shouting out a super chatter. So somebody was watching when I spoke in the after show or pre-show, I forget which, about having a load of spare equipment, or I will have once my new computer comes, which will be hopefully soon. But in the meantime, he got in touch and said, actually, I've got a requirement for a mic. You said you got a Yeti that you would bundle with it. Well, I can still put the camera, which has got a mic, in it if somebody comes to me and says, I do want a streaming PC. Can I have your old streaming PC? But he just needed a mic. So he's just sending me a super chat thanking me. And I'm saying thank you for the super chat and glad you like the mic. Yeah, Brian.
What a guy.
Yeah. Okay, no worries. Okay, well, I'm going to do this now then. Okay, so this is how it starts, right? So,
And with that,
Starts
I'm going to
off-
say a huge, massive, enormous thank you. I'm only joking.
well, I know that. So it starts off with this horizontal plane here, right? Now, technically, it actually starts off with this horizontal plane, this one in the red line, right? That actually starts off there. I'm going to make this maybe black. Can you see this one at the top here, touching the sphere, or the protractor here?
Yes.
It starts off there, and what they do is this angle here is originally measured out here. Now, I'm not going to put in that line there because it's getting in the way of what I want to do. But this angle here is originally measured coming out here, let's just say. But that would actually be here, right? This is actually where the angle is measured from here. Not here, but I have to show it here just to show how the deception works, right? And this, I'm not talking about people deceiving other people so much. I'm talking about self-deception, right? That started off with people deceiving other people, and some of those people may be deceiving themselves. So this angle, right, this 45-degree angle comes out here, right? This is a tangent plane that they've put touching their sphere. Let's say we call this their sphere at one point, and there's an angle. This is what happens in reality. There's an angle measured on a huge horizontal plane, and then it's pre-assumed to go to the center of their globe, right? But what's really happening is this, right? That's how it's described to us. But what's really happening is this. I'm just going to take this away, right? What's really happening is this. This here is a protractor, right? This big hemisphere here. This other one here is also a protractor. So what they do is they know that 1 minute of degree on this protractor, on this big protractor, will also be 1 minute of degree on the smaller protractor. So they can have 1,000 protractors from starting here, going down to here, and each one of them, 1 minute of degree on them, will be the same for each one. And each one of those minutes of degree can become a nautical mile. So this protractor here could be the diameter of a basketball. And this big old protractor here could be the diameter of heliocentric Jupiter. It doesn't matter, because 1 minute of degree will always be 1 nautical mile. But the difference will be the conversion rate between those nautical miles, let's say on the basketball, and the conversion rate of those nautical miles on heliocentric Jupiter, if you want to convert them to statual miles, right? That is the difference. Because 1 minute of degree, like a nautical mile is only a minute of degree. So you can have you have 21,600 nautical miles on a basketball, right? It doesn't matter. The size of it doesn't matter because they're just minutes of degree. So what they do is this. This is where the angle is taken from. This is reality right down here, right? Then it's put into orthographic view like this, right? And with the local celestial dome, right? And what happens then is that because they put another protractor, a smaller one, inside the bigger one, right? And then they give this one, right? Both of them actually, but they start off with this one, giving the smaller one, an arbitrary radius value. So what you have is the same angle being created from the same center point of both protractors, and it will cover the same amount of minutes of degree on the outside of the large protractor that it does on the outside of the smaller protractor, right? And once they give the smaller protractor a radius value of 3,959 in statute miles, and this is the important part. What happens then is they know that they can then use, right, the conversion rate the reality conversion rate from nautical to statute of 1.1508, right, to convert this distance here that's on the roof of this smaller protractor from here to here into 2,000, because there's a 45-degree angle, into 2,700 minutes of degree, which will convert in reality into statute miles 1.1508 at that rate. So this is what they do. They start off. I have to go back over one or two parts. They start off with the angle, right? that they state is on top of their globe, touching their globe at one point, right? They start off with that, with a tangent plane to take the angle there. Then they claim that they're bringing it to the center of their globe, which never moved. It was actually always taken from here in perspective view and just turned orthographic into the celestial sphere model. And then what they do is they use those minutes of degree that would be equal on the outside of the large protractor and equal on the outside of the smaller protractor. And they give this smaller protractor a statuette mile radius, right? And once they give it the statuette mile radius they need it to be, they then can determine that the bigger protractor is a certain size as well if they need it to be, just for this to happen. But what they're doing is they're hijacking this measurement here. Let's say this is a 45-degree angle, let's say, right? So they're hijacking the distance from the center point out to this blue dot, right, on the baseline. That's an equal distance as from here around the curve to here. So the full quarter of this, a full half of this protractor from here along its curved roof down to there is equal to the distance as from the center point out there. And that's how they do it. So they then, that's 45 degrees, so it's 2,700 nautical miles, and that will convert 1.1508 into statuette miles. So what all they're doing is hijacking this horizontal distance that's been measured here along the base of the celestial sphere model by putting a smaller protractor, a smaller celestial sphere model, basically inside the celestial sphere model, and giving it an arbitrary statuette mile radius value, and that gives them their distance along here. That's how they actually get their distance on the curve of their globe, and that's how they can make their claims. That's all they're doing.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. I won't round out just yet. I'll see if anybody's got any comment first. But thank you very much, first of all.
No worries.
Yeah,
Excellent
if you go
presentation.
to Master D, you could see I posted. Let me know when you're there.
Yeah, I'm there.
Nautical mile. Officially, a nautical mile is defined as 1,852 meters or 6,080 feet. Highlighted in blue, but originally it was a minute of arc on a great circle. Thank you, Brian.
Because if you take this hemisphere of the protractor, of this smaller protractor, and you flatten it out, it'll be equal to the distance along the baseline, the diameter or bottom baseline of the larger protractor. So that's all you have to do to make this mathematically work. Now, this destroys them, this curved distance this destroys them. And not just from an elevation angle point. Well, it is from the elevation angle, but it's to do with other things. This absolutely annihilates them and they don't realize it. But it doesn't matter. That's how they delude themselves or actively delude other people. That's how they do it. It's total and utter nonsense. Like, all the Haversine formula is doing is giving them these 2 points on this internal protractor. That's all it's doing, giving them the distance between those 2 points. But they already got the distance from the angle, if you know what I mean, because they're putting the angle at the center of their globe. Because what this is they make both protractors into a circle. That's what they do. So they have 2 circles called spheres. So that's how they delude themselves and other people. Is they have the angle and they're just turning that angle into a nautical mile distance, a statuette mile distance from conversion from this point to this point on the surface of their sphere. That's all they're doing. Everything is orthographic. They're working with circles. That's all it is. That's great circle. This is where great circle roots come from.
Perfect. I'm going to have to round out at some point, Brian. So with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. Another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the thumbs up if you wanted to get notifications, hit the notification bell and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
You're always going to have 360 in the circle. You're always going to have 60 minutes in the degree. You're going to have 60 seconds in a minute. You're always going to have those, and those are units of measure. Whoever said it's 1,852 meters or 6,080 feet? Well, where did that come from?
Plane.
They had to make it. They had to make it match.
Well, that's it. That's what they did. You see, once they got the correct conversion between a minute of degree, right, measurement, and a statute mile, I'm feeding back there. Once they got that correct, right, which was they knew that the statute mile was 5,280 feet, and it was agreed upon that that's what it is. They could then have a ball after that mathematically. Because, as I said, a minute of degree is an nautical mile on any circle. You know, so this is their great circle routes are actually just this red line at the bottom here. That's what their great circle routes are. But because they have to work in orthographic 2D circles and they're claiming the globe, the great circle routes become these mathematically. These curve distances. That's what they become. But it's a load of nonsense. Because all they're doing is they're just hijacking the celestial sphere model, right? And the original angle that was taken from within that by placing a smaller protractor or a smaller celestial sphere within it and giving that a certain radius value. In statute, it's important in statute miles, right? In statute. So they already know that it's going to be they already know from here to here is going to be, which is the measurement, the 45-degree measurement. You already know that that's going to be this line here, right? And this line here will be equal. That will be 2,700 minutes of degree or nautical miles. So they already know that. They just need to match this distance here with a statute mile distance over the curve. So it's just a case of matching up their plane sphere with an orthographic representation of angular measurements in perspective view. That's all it is.
Brian, you remember where you and I were talking about this, that universally they agreed what it was, and that date was, I believe, 1952. That was England and the USA finally coming to terms as to what a nautical mile is. 1952.
Yeah, but
what about hang on. What about all the other conversions in history that were so different? And so they were guessing, they were trying to make it match their mathematical sphere. And it took them till 1952 to figure it out.
But that's rubbish, because history shows that the Romans first came up with history claims that the Romans came up with 5,000 feet, which would be 5 whatever amount of paces for the soldiers, was one statute mile. And one of the British queens added 280 feet onto that.
Yes.
To match, right, that's the claim. So that's why we have 5,280 feet within a statute mile. But that didn't happen in 1952.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Brian. No, I'm not saying that.
What I'm saying
they're contradicting
stories.
No, I agree with all that. That's the way they wrote the history, with the queen adding to the Roman soldier walking a mile, which was those paces. I read all that. We both read it together. Now, the point is, it took them until 1952 to say it's this officially.
Yeah, well, a lot of stuff happened after 1952. It was very heliocentric, wasn't it?
Well, I'm not even going there. I'm going to the gobs and gobs of written literature, how it was different throughout the whole journey until 1952. They never nailed it down until 1952.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that story.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's what's written about how they got a distance to a nautical mile. That's the whole point.
No, because they always would have known. Well, I mean, the thing about it is, they always would. It was about adding an arbitrary statute mile conversion rate. That's what it's all about.
I know
like
that.
that's the whole point of it. That's why.
No, I know that.
Smaller protractor radius.
No, I know that. But how are all the people who are using the nautical mile with the sextant and the angle arc minutes ever getting anywhere if there's diversity in that number? And finally, they came to agreement in 1952.
Yeah, I know. It's a load of contradictory nonsense.
Yeah, that's the point.
I know that. That's my point. That's my point about talking about the Romans and the British Queen. You know, that was a long time before 1952. You know, they're just more stories, more heliocentric stories that don't add up. That's what it is. But yeah, this is how they do it.
A whole lot of heliocentric nonsense that happened in the 1950s. Very curious.
Yeah, the 1940s and 50s were strange times. The latter half of the 1940s and into the 1950s were strange times, because that was when they were doing their most amount of activity in an exploration of supposedly the Arctic and what they claim to be an Antarctic. You know,
Well, how about the psyche? This is when the psychology became weaponized, pretty much. So, massive new times, you know? 40s. That's when, like, media became psychologically weaponized. That's when it all started. When this, where we're at now, when what drove this has all started.
That was the era of the massive okie doke. When some guy, whether you want to give him credit or not, claimed that there was all this unexplored land, and then all of a sudden we're like, nah, we're gonna ignore that completely. Hey, everybody, look up. Look into space.
Well, that was like
Don't live over here.
That moment was like the virtue signaling moment of just pulling the curtain back. Like, hi, I'm a wizard. Now let me pull the curtain back. Here's the spell, right? That's what that was to me.
Chocolate, you need to finish the story. And
What a lovely day!